this is like a disease that has riddled Rangers for too many years now. This mentality, this attitude, this kind of passive nature in games. This this group of players who pick and choose when they want to get up for games, and it's normally European games or big cup games, but the run of the mill league stuff doesn't seem to interest them. And like that's obviously what triggered Russell Martin's comments post match.
Yeah, interesting, Scott. Right, couple of things. Is there not an element here of a manager and but first one game into a 38-game league season, and he's filleted his own players, hammered them? Is there not an element here of that looks very much like a guy who's trying to play to the gallery a little bit? Because that was my big reading from it. I mean, he's telling the Rangers fans nothing they don't already know about these players, but he's the guy that's picking. And I think it deflects massively away from the style of play, which I think is an issue. I think the way that he wants this team to play, they're taking crazy high-risk chances in areas of the pitch where it should be safety first. And then there is no sort of, they're way too cautious in the areas of the pitch where they need to be creative and have a cutting edge. And I think it's a bad formula. I really do. But we're not talking about that. We're not talking about Russell Martin and his tactics here. We're going back to these players just can't hack it.
Yeah, it's hard. Listen, it's hard to disagree. I think he was right in his criticism of the players, and I think he probably had to do that. The reason I say that is, I agree with you, in terms of playing in the gallery a wee bit. I think it is what the fans want to hear, and I think he knows that. But the good thing about that is, Jack, with the previous two managers, when they lost the first day of the season, lost points in the opening day of the season, Michael Beale and Philippe Clement, they did the opposite. They tried to protect the players and tried to make excuses and come up with all sort of mitigating factors as to why Rangers weren't ready and why they didn't pick up 3 points. And look how that ended for those two. So I think it was the right thing to do. I listened to Chris Sutton after the game yesterday. I don't know if you did on Sky, and he said something that I thought was interesting, but the more I thought about it, I tended to agree with him. He basically said he thought that by coming out and filleting them the way he did, it kind of told him that he's looked at these players over pre-season and just doesn't fancy a lot of them. And I think he might have a point there. We were saying this was going to be a big rebuild, Jack, over the summer. I mean, it looks as if Russell Martin would quite happily lose a raft of these players. I mean, literally almost wipe the slate clean. Now, the problem he's got is that's just impossible to do in 1, 2, maybe even 3 windows. Get rid of all these players. But the problem is, he started the starting team yesterday had 4 of his new signings, but 7 others who have been there, for minimum 12 months, 2 years or more, as part of a squad who are associated with failure. And that's what he's talking about after the game, this mentality which has been allowed to seep in. I've spoken about it so many times on here, written so many pieces about it in the paper. Rangers for too long have become accustomed to accepting second best, and that's the problem, and that's a cultural thing. It's so hard to change, but Russell Martin at least is recognising that. And just getting back to your point, Jack, of the style, I agree, because it's hard not to disagree. Aside from all of that, aside from everything that we've said, I know it's early days, but Rangers fans should be seeing more. I mean, Russell Martin's meant to be a possession-based manager. I mean, Motherwell kept the ball better than Rangers did.
Yeah, 100%. They were both playing a very similar style. It's just Motherwell were far better at it.
Right. I mean, Motherwell's midfield 3 was far better, far more functional, and kept the ball better than Rangers' midfield 3, and that should be a big worry. I mean, I'm not into, I'm not really into stats and XG or the rest of it, but you're reading some of the stats this morning about chances created and possession, and Rangers having a minus XG, and I think there was one stat saying the Rangers have now conceded 50 shots in the these first 3 games, the 2 European games and then the Motherwell game. That's just unacceptable. And I'm sure it was 50. I think it was 50 shots combined over those
3 games. That's mad.
Over those 3 games, which is obviously not what he wants. And look, I tried to stick up for Russell Martin and these players after the Panathinaikos away game and I still feel that, irrespective of performance, to get through that tie and win 3-1, when a lot of people expected them to go out, I think was a big achievement for them that secured group stage football, which is obviously crucial for them this season. But I said at the end of that piece that it's a different ballgame when you start losing points in the league, because that has to be the priority. I keep saying it, the last 2 years, I said it to Russell Martin at his press conference on Friday, this Rangers team have dropped points in the last 2 years consecutive. It just can't happen again. And he kind of accepted it, but there's always that caveat of, well, if it happens, we've plenty of time to recover. That's not good enough either, because the previous 2 managers couldn't recover and ended up losing their jobs because they let Celtic get too far ahead.
Scott, I'm going to ask you a question, right? And I know that you were a wee midfield operator, right?
Yeah.
Midfield dynamo.
You talked about Motherwell having the better of the midfield. You're totally right. They seem to have more bodies, more legs, and they were cutting through the Rangers midfield. Now, when you're looking at that at the game, does it look properly set up to you? Raskin playing so far to the left, Diomande playing so far to the right. The fullbacks didn't seem, we saw in the first game at home at Panathinaikos what we thought was the sort of Russell Martin master plan, which was really inverted fullbacks with Max Aarons coming inside, almost pushing Raskin out to the flank. I didn't see any of that. Not so much in the second leg in Athens, and certainly not the weekend. So you get fullbacks that are staying in their sort of traditional berths with midfielders in front and wide. And I just thought it leaves holes all over that midfield. And Motherwell were able to play into them and run through them, run over the top of them in that area.
Sorry to jump in, Scott, but before you come back on that, we've got a lot of people in the comments saying similar. Diomande and Raskin were 2 to 5. He played out of position. A lot of fans saying that Russell Martin might have filleted the players, but he has to take some responsibility as well.
100%, Daniel. He's got to take responsibility, because Keith's right. There was decisions made yesterday, and there's players playing out of position. And it just doesn't look right. I mean, where do you start? I mean, Max Aarons playing at left back isn't going to work. I mean, the manager admitted that himself at the press on Friday. What the solution to that is, I don't know. It's probably a new left back coming in, because clearly he doesn't fancy Jeffrey at all. But when you look at yesterday's game,
more than he does Yilmaz.
I know. Gassama is, or certainly the last couple of games, has been Rangers' most dangerous player, most dangerous attacker. But they couldn't get the ball to him yesterday, because every time Max Aarons got it, he cuts in on his right foot. I mean, he's never opening himself up to get Gassama on the ball with his left foot. That was an issue. And I think Raskin's a big one. Maybe not so much Diomande in that system, but Raskin, to me, he's not comfortable in that attacking number 8 role on the left-hand side. I mean, so many times in the first half yesterday, he's getting the ball fired into him. He's either side on or he's back to goal. And listen, I like Raskin as a player, but he's not technically adept enough at dealing with that situation. He's got 2 Motherwell players on him, and he's got his back to the game. He's far better suited when the game's in front of him. And is he the perfect number 6? Is he the answer for Rangers at number 6? A lot of fans think so, because he did well there last season. I'm not 100% sure, but I certainly believe he's better there than he is as one of these attacking number 8s. Even Rothwell, I mean, I thought Rothwell was going to be the number 8 when he came in. I thought he was going to be the guy driving into the box and playing killer passes and travelling with the ball and going box to box. But he's obviously been deployed as a number 6, and I don't think that suits him either. So there's so many issues there, so many issues he's got to sort out. There's obviously going to be new players coming in. Kieran Dow, who I'm sure we'll talk about, has unbelievably become a regular starter and playing 90 minutes almost every week. That isn't right either. It'll obviously change, you would think, with the the wingers coming in. Obviously, Mikey Moore's come in, and the boy Antman looks as if that will be done in the next couple of days. So that will give them options and strength and depth in the wide areas. But there's so much wrong with it, and you're right. That's where the manager has to take responsibility. But of course, he will argue, and he's right, that tactics go out the window if players don't want to run and don't want to play with a hunger and a desire and an intensity. And that's obviously what he was getting at yesterday.
We're getting a really big response, guys, on Russell Martin's post-match comments. So let me throw a few of these at you and get your take. Russell Martin threw the Rangers players under the bus, deservedly so. They started to play long balls as the panic set in. Motherwell played through the lines and deserved more. This one, how can Martin call out egos when his plan B is to do plan A better? Sean says, I think most agree with Martin, but it's a very bad look for his first league game. Brian says, Rangers need a John Gregg to push them forward on the pitch. And Singing the Blues says, if Martin doesn't drop some players now, he will look weak.